can they tell you?
Good afternoon, New Orleans, or wherever you may be. It's 4 o'clock Wednesday, so this must be the Baldy and the Blonde show. I happen to be the... Which one am I?
Blonde, of course. I'm bald.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you
Yes,
go. I can never keep that one straight. Anyway, I'm Tom Kowitz. I'm here with...
Michelle Godin.
And together we are Baldy and the Blonde.
Yes, we are. First thing I'd like to say before we get started is Jeff Cruer,
Yes.
the boss of WGSO. I forget the official title, but he had a show last week called Politics with a Punch and invited me, and I would like to thank him because it was a blast. There were tons of people, and I got to talk about my favorite topics, judicial insurrections and I'm sorry, did I say insurrection? I meant injunctions. Injunctions, yes, that's it. And it was fun. They had, he puts together an interesting group. So thanks, Jeff.
My invitation got lost in the mail.
Yes, well, you were lost in North Carolina, so.
I guess I was.
Yes, you are. Yeah. So anyway.
All right, what you got for us today?
Well, I mean, we teased the show today with where has Justice Roberts spent a week? At whose house did he spend a week? And let's just say I just stumbled across this morning. Probably a lot of you heard it too. But I've never heard it before, and apparently it's been out there a while. And it certainly cast an interesting light on what is our first topic anyway, the ongoing discussion about the will of the people being thwarted by nationwide injunctions. And, I know the press loves to say it as though, oh, it's Trump, it's the Trump agenda that's being, set aside because it's wrong and it's judges intervening. But it's not the Trump agenda. Whose agenda is it?
Well, it is his agenda that the Americans agree with.
Yeah,
by
that he
large
was
percentage.
elected on. I mean,
Sure.
It's like the election was, number one was border security.
Absolutely.
Number one.
And that's popular.
To this day.
Now, it's obviously more popular with the Republicans, but there's plenty of Democrats on board with shutting down those open borders.
And notice how long it took him, despite all the whining from the Democrats. Oh, we need more legislation. How long did it take him to shut it down?
2.5 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah.
No new laws.
Well, as he said, you don't need a new law. You just need a new president.
That's it. You just need
and he's exactly right. Just got to do it.
So, he puts, everybody's heard about the crazy judges and the issuing injunctions that don't just apply to the facts of the case before them, but to the whole country. So not only can you not deport the Tren de Aragua murderers, but neither can anyone else in the country, according to His Honor, President Judge Boasberg.
President? Oh, no, that'd be a step down. It's way better to be a federal judge.
You know what? It's that's
way
true.
Better.
So anyway,
don't be measly president,
right? I mean, never. And if you go look up the numbers, I didn't bring them, but I think there were 16 before Trump, and now there's like 85. Like in the history of the country, there were 16 nationwide injunctions.
Oh,
something like that. It's a negligible sum. And then when
I think in Trump's first term, I think it was 85, and I think this term is 30.
Already.
And he just got started.
Yes.
And my understanding is there's 677 federal judges.
Yep.
All it takes is one.
Yep.
I mean, using their theory, all it takes is one of them to basically veto what the president wants to do.
That's correct. And again, we elected him to do these things.
Right.
I imagine next they're just going to say, well, we don't agree with you having peace talks with Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, right.
Launch the bombs.
Yeah,
get those planes out there, President.
Right.
Load up the bombers and head over to Russia.
Well, they are his boss. They're judges, after all.
After all, why shouldn't some dude in D.C. who is very connected to the Democrat Party, and that party is the party of warmongers? Why shouldn't he just order us to war? I mean, why not? He can tell the president who he can and cannot fire, that he must pay waste. I mean, things that are insane that no Americans want to support. I don't know, Peruvian ballets with transgender donkeys or something. I mean, it's just insane.
Oh, I saw that show.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it?
It was pretty good.
So, anyway, it's just crazy. So,
well, my understanding is there's zero constitutional authority.
That's correct.
Or statutory authority.
That is correct.
Or Supreme Court opinion saying that these federal judges can issue universal injunctions. Is that true?
That's right. That is correct. In
So
fact,
they just
made
do
it up.
it.
Yes.
They just do it.
Yes, that's correct.
And they have no. So I could do it.
All you need is a black robe.
No, I don't. Why?
Well, that's true. You don't even.
In other
need
words, if they have no authority
that's
and
that's,
I have no authority, then I can tell the president to do whatever I want him to do.
I like that thought. Yes.
What's the difference?
Why not?
What?
They're not imbued with any authority.
They're
to do
not.
that. In fact, with regard to the plane loads of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua kind guys, good fellas, with regard to them, the president actually invoked the alien illegal. I forget it's called the Alien Sedition Act, I believe, and.
No, that's a different one. I don't remember which one.
Yeah,
this was.
it's not the Thomas Jefferson thing.
No,
but anyway, it is from 1798.
right. It's from the same.
It's a
period.
way that you can designate a group as who you were at war with, so that you can deport them summarily. And of course, they're here illegally too. But so that's a separate way to deport. But anyway, the jurisprudence on that statute is that you are not subject. The president's orders under that act are not subject to judicial review at all. So I don't even know how Boasberg, the D.C.
He doesn't care.
How is he? Yeah, exactly. And the case comes from Texas, so why did they file it in D.C.? Well, we know why.
Yes.
But in the law, normally, if my clients are in an accident in New Orleans and I try to file it in D.C., I'm pretty sure that's not going to fly. All right? It's not going to fly. They're going to say, back to New Orleans. So... Anyway.
Well, Boasberg can do that for the same reason that I could do it. I have no authority,
That's it.
And I could just do it.
I mean,
he just does it.
Yeah. And what did he expect?
And then the difference is some people jump when he says stuff, and there's no reason to.
And look, he's a tool of the party. His wife, his daughter, the whole family, Democrat activist. He himself is.
Well, not to mention whoever it is that runs the system that gets him all those cases.
Well, now that is it. I'm glad you brought that up. I believe we may have talked about how cases are allotted, but I'll just mention it again for new listeners.
It's supposed to be random. It's obviously
supposed to be
not.
random. You can't just pick a judge, but obviously something weird's going down. It sure looks funny, doesn't it?
Well, and that is obviously what's happening. And
it looks pretty weird.
And it's in the open, so we know about it. And clearly they know that we know.
That's a good point.
And they don't care.
Well, no, not
because
only
they
that,
can get away with anything.
That's it. They're just flaunting their lawfare and their abuse of the judicial system, and to great detriment, I might add. That people are losing faith and have been losing faith due to the abuse of the justice system over the past at least 5 years.
Sure.
But really going back to Obama with the so-called Patriot Act, where he asserted the right to detain Americans without charges indefinitely, without a trial, without a charge, and he summarily executed 2 Americans without a charge.
Well, he did win the Nobel Peace Prize, so there's that.
There is that.
So stop it.
Please.
Yes.
I know. Please don't say anything bad about Barry. So
But
we have some clips, too.
We do have some good clips.
Because we have some cool ones.
We'll have to get to them on the other side of the break. But you know what? When we talk about all these things that they're getting away with in the open, and again, they know we know, and they just laugh at us. And I've said
Just
for
like
years
communists do.
that you have a system where somebody killed JFK in broad daylight and got away with it. It wasn't Oswald.
I
We don't
agree.
know who it was. They did it in broad daylight and got away with it, so they could do anything. But that might be about to change.
Ah, yes.
We might never know who the actual other shooter or shooters were, but I think we're getting closer to realizing that I don't know. Maybe not specifically who was behind it, but we might learn that the CIA was behind
it looks
or
like
the CIA with some other entity was in on it. We are getting closer, and we will play some of those clips on the other side.
Yeah.
And just one example, and here's the thing. When you do a once-a-week show like we do, we're not scooping anything. A lot of things report. They've been in the news for a little while. We just try to put our spin on it.
That's it.
And call it to the attention of some. Not everybody has heard this stuff.
Right.
So to some listeners, it will be new. But there's some very interesting developments in the JFK assassination. And here's a spoiler alert that's about 63 years old. Oswald didn't do it.
I think it's a pretty interesting development, that's for sure. And I think the development that I heard this morning, and I don't believe it's been on the news before, about Justice Roberts' cozy relationship, to the extent that he spent the week at the house of a prominent orchestrator of Lawfare, is, I don't know, sizzling hot to me. And we will get into that on the other side.
To the Baldy and the Blonde show. I am one of your co-hosts, Tom Kowitz. I'm here with Michelle Godin. Together, we're Baldy and the Blonde. We're here every Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Yes, and we were discussing some very interesting information that came out this morning on the Steve Bannon show through Mike Benz, who's probably familiar to most of y'all. He's anyway, I'm not going to get into all that, but he's a very prominent guest on a lot of shows. And he had discovered something that I had never heard of about Justice Roberts and his cozy relationship with, let's just say, the architect, in my view, of the Democrat assault on the people of the United States and their will through the courts. Last time they went after him through legislation, impeachment, us, again, that they're trying to take down. They couch it as Trump, but it's us. And this time it's the courts, because they don't have Congress. You know, the Republicans control the allegedly the three branches. I mean, the two branches, and so they're after the judiciary and shopping their cases to friendly judges. So, and I can't wait to see the result of that investigation as to how these cases keep ending up where they do. But in the meantime,
there will be no
we got some
investigation.
Juice. There will be nothing. We got some juicy news about Justice Roberts, so at least it's being reported, and we will get to it in a minute. And the setup is, first we're going to hear a little something on nationwide injunctions from our homeboy.
This is Senator John Kennedy, not to be confused with the
deceased
other John Kennedy that we
Yes.
will talk about
Later.
This is from last week when he was questioning Brett Shumate, who's a nominee for Assistant Attorney General. And it was actually about the very topic that Michelle and I were talking about in the first segment, these universal injunctions. The interview or the questioning went on for several minutes. We just clipped like 30 seconds just to give you an idea on just how horrible these universal injunctions are and how nonsensical they are.
Explain to me how this works. You have a plaintiff and you have a defendant. And the plaintiff files a lawsuit and goes in front of a federal judge. Federal judge has certain jurisdiction over the parties, the people, the plaintiff and the defendant. They're the only two people in court. How can a judge, a federal judge, issue an order that affects everybody else other than those in front of him or her? How is that possible?
It shouldn't be possible, Senator, but district courts do it all the time.
In other words,
no, they don't.
They just do it.
Yeah, they just do it. So.
And later in the questioning, he does go over the fact that it's not in the Constitution, there's no statute, and there's no Supreme Court opinion, but they just do it.
Well, and they don't do it all the time. They, if you want to have something apply to
they have been now with Trump.
Now they are.
Yes.
That's it. So historically, if you want to have a class issue addressed, you file a class action suit. Imagine that. But anyway.
Yeah, imagine actually following the law, you mean?
So now we get into how, I guess the best way to say this is that there was the development of what they called NATO courts, which fostered a relationship of sorts between the U.S. justice system and the European NATO justice system, but particularly after the fall of the Soviet Union and a lot of interference by the CIA in all of that. And the speaker here is Mike Benz this morning on the War Room Show with Natalie Winters.
What we're seeing right now is basically the culmination of a special project that started off by NATO in the early 1990s when they were seeking to shore up control over Central and Eastern Europe. We instituted these rule of law programs. anti-corruption programs and sought to actually control the judiciary and the court systems in all these post-Soviet countries that were liberated after we won the Cold War. And no one really cared in the United States our systems of control over the judiciary and just how crazy it was having the CIA, the State Department, USAID, and all the exchange programs between our own judiciary and foreign judiciaries to control judges and prosecutors in foreign countries. Of course, famously, we did this in Ukraine as well with Viktor Shokin and Joe Biden himself leaning on the Ukrainian government to bribe them with $1 billion USAID loan in order to get rid of their prosecutor when he started sniffing at Hunter Biden.
Well, I just caught what he said because I only get to hear it once. That I didn't realize that the $1 billion paid to Ukraine in exchange for the dismissal of the prosecutor looking into Hunter and Joe's involvement with Burisma in Ukraine. I didn't know that money came from the taxpayers from USAID. Did you know? Well, I mean, taxpayers one way or the other, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I just didn't know it
Yes.
was through the USAID. So, anyway, that's kind of the setup of what's going on. We have this relationship where we're getting involved with our judges, with European judges, and blah 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 to spread our justice. So
Yeah, so we're not as sovereign as we.
apparently not.
Yeah.
So continuing, and we're getting to the juice. So
All right, hang on one
this has
second.
been
One thing that I find
one thing I found.
utterly fascinating that I learned this week because of a great account on X called Listen to Learn, goes by the researcher. He found an incredible clip of Norm Eisen, no less than Norm Eisen, bragging recently that while he was the U.S. ambassador to the Czech Republic,
You want to explain who Norm Eisen is?
Norm Eisen is a Democrat activist lawyer. He is the architect of most of the lawfare lawsuits instituted going back to the election lawsuits in the 2020 election, all the way through the lawsuits being filed all over the country now.
All right, let's continue the clip.
Continue.
meaning the head of the State Department of the Czech Republic, the former Czechoslovakia, that a man you may have heard of by the name of Chief Justice John Roberts himself traveled to the Czech Republic to meet with Norm Eisen, not just meet with Norm Eisen, but stay at his home. Norm Eisen's 150-room mansion in the Czech Republic at the time. John Roberts traveled to the Czech Republic for a week to work on American and EU rule of law issues. And Norm Eisen said because of this, he has known John Roberts now for coming up on 15 years and considers him.
Oh, it got cut off, but considers him a good friend. So, anyway, I thought that was pretty. I literally stopped the car and took notes and zipped over to the office and made sure that Tom took care of getting that clip. And here's Norm Eisen himself.
John Roberts is not corrupt. I know the Chief Justice well. He stayed when I was ambassador, stayed under my roof, came and spent a week with us. We worked on American and European rule of law issues together.
Right from the horse's mouth.
There you go. I was pretty shocked by that development. If you Google Norm Eisen, you'll see that he is a major political operative for the Democrats. I don't even think that we have somebody at that level on our, on the side of justice and liberty.
Isn't it interesting in news reports when they talking about Supreme Court decisions, they will say that John Roberts sided with the liberals. They never
not a liberal.
They never say he is one of the liberals.
He is liberal.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a lefty. Just
Yeah,
like he hangs out with them. He sleeps at their houses. I mean, Norm Eisen is his friend, and we got no love from the Supreme Court. On anything that's important. A few. Anyway, we'll see you on the other side. This is Baldy and the Blonde. Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde. I'm Michelle Godin here with Tom Coates every Thursday at 4. You can catch us at Baldy Blonde on X And on baldyandtheblonde.com, you can listen to all of our shows. And they are on there without commercials. So that's cool. I will say we've had a few, we happen to be on Christmas and New Year's because we're Wednesdays at 4. So you'll find that there are a couple of shows that were repeats. And then neither of us we had a case last week, so we had to miss it. But mostly it's fresh new material. And like Tom said, we are not here to scoop anybody, but we just like to give our perspective on things that primarily concern issues involving our liberty and our ability to be free people in this country. So,
And hand in hand with liberty is truth, because without truth, you don't have liberty and freedom.
You think?
So sometimes we just dig for things that are just, we've been told lies for so long. Let's just dig for the truth. And I hardly even care what the topic is, right? But
It's
if
true.
there's an outright lie, and now we know the truth, let's shine some light on it.
I think that's great. I never thought of it that way, but that is what we do. I am obsessed with looking at newspaper articles, online articles, and seeing the spin, which should be offensive to anyone from either side. And that's
yeah.
what we do try to do.
Well, now we got there's a couple of news stories that have recently hit, both involving NBC. And it's not about them spinning anything. It's about them just hiding things, outright hiding in one case for decades.
Yeah.
And another just not reporting on it, which is kind of the same thing as hiding. But again, both involving NBC. The first one is, according to Representative Anna Paulina Luna, NBC has been sitting on a videotape showing Lee Harvey Oswald near JFK's limousine at the time of the shooting, thereby making it impossible that
That he was
he
in the
shot,
yeah,
that
How
it,
can
or
you
at
be-
least that he shot from the book
Right,
depository.
right.
In other words, destroying the entire narrative. Which, I mean, I started reading about the JFK assassination when I was a kid, probably in the mid '70s, and I could tell right away it was junk. The story was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's-
And nothing has ever changed my mind. But everyone in the media just sticks by that stupid story, including, of course, NBC. And now we're told that for decades they've been sitting on this.
I mean, is there any proof of that yet, or is it?
No.
It's just
No.
Anna saying that.
So far, it's just Anna. That's her understanding, is that they have this tape, and so Congress is going to try to get that from NBC.
Wow.
And now the point she made is basically that's the people's tape. It's not NBC's tape.
Well, yes, of course.
So and you know what? If it turns out to be
if it's true, they better shut down and just leave. And be
how
done.
do they even stay open? And also, you could argue that that's treasonous.
You could.
But anyway, I have a short clip of her describing what they found or what she alleges.
Okay.
NBC actually has a video that's never been seen before. We're actually going to be sending a letter requesting that from NBC. It allegedly shows Oswald near the vehicle when the assassination took place, which means that he couldn't have been the shooter.
Wow.
So that's on an interview on Fox. I don't know, last night, but very recently.
Okay.
Okay, so then you combine that with this news story that just hit yesterday, unfortunately on April Fool's Day, but I think it's a real story. So it's on Zero Hedge, and if you're not familiar with Zero Hedge, it's a great
Yeah,
website.
it's a good website.
So they have reported on it. There's a new book titled, it's called Fight, Inside the Wildest Batter. Let me start over. Fight, Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. Okay, so that's a new book that's out. And it's by two authors. One of the authors is NBC News Digital Senior Political Analyst Jonathan Allen. So now here we have NBC at it again.
Wow.
Now, on one hand, they are hiding a tape from us for decades. Now, in this one, let's just, I'm going to be quoting some. Now, Michelle knows nothing about this. She has no idea
No,
what I'm just going to read from this article.
He's holding an article with
she has
stickies
no idea.
all over it.
So I'm going to read you some stuff, and then you can just comment. But they are basically summarizing what excerpts from the book. It says that in one excerpt, a former Biden aide shared how they had a resident makeup artist to cover up how dilapidated Biden's physical appearance had become.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Now, you don't do that if he's hale and hearty. Oh, and you know what, too? There's videos online, and now I am a conspiracy theorist at heart. I love being one.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's so much fun.
Because it turns out I'm always right.
Well, yeah.
So, but there's some great ones online where from behind, I swear, it looks like it's somebody wearing a rubber mask.
Yeah,
like a Biden
I've seen
mask.
that. And
So-
like the 6'5" Biden.
Yeah,
right. Remember that guy?
And you know what? So now all the things that we see more and more, everything's a lie. And I know it sounds crazy to suggest that there was somebody impersonating Biden wearing a mask, but does it sound so crazy now that with all the lies?
No. Now they're admitting that, well, okay.
That they had a makeup person following them around. Yeah,
Right?
it's a
What else?
professional makeup person.
What else
Okay.
they got
Let's see.
in their book, Revelations?
Let's see.
To those that didn't know Biden was demented.
Another incident saw
Please.
Biden not recognizing or knowing who Representative Eric Swalwell was and having to be coached into remembering him.
Wow. Well, and, Mike Johnson said he did not know that he had signed a ban on the LNG.
Well, and he probably didn't.
Yeah, he
'Cause
didn't
that's
know.
AutoPen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Biden also needed fluorescent tape to guide him where to go and where not to go.
Oh, wow.
To wander off during public events.
I mean, I'm not surprised
In
by
other
any
words,
of it.
this NBC guy
Yeah.
knew this
And didn't report it.
and didn't report it.
Not just that didn't report it. They called it fakes. What do they call that thing?
Yeah, they call this cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay,
If
here's
you showed video of him stumbling over to the Easter Bunny.
cheap fake.
Yeah, cheap fake.
The book further notes that Biden's allies were planning for his death and someone else becoming the Democratic nominee as early as 2023.
Just remember, Joe Scarborough's from where? MSNBC.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And what did that ridiculous speech, which,
Yeah,
I
I wish I'd clipped that.
that's the best Joe Biden.
But-
That's if you can't deal with
Well,
it.
and the media was in unison. Sharp. These were sharp. Remember,
sharp,
every user
sharp,
sharp. Yeah,
sharp.
it's the sharpest I've ever seen him. Behind closed doors, he's a sharp. It's like, well, behind closed doors, he's sharp. Really? Because on video in public, he's not. So, do you have any videos of him behind closed doors?
It's just the
where he's
president.
sharp.
I mean, what difference does it make?
And then here's another
Right.
one. Kamala Harris's team reportedly drew up a death pool roster of federal judges who might swear her in if and when Biden died in office. In other words, so this is a new book, and one of the authors is this guy from
John
NBC.
Allen from NBC.
Okay, so for that book to be published now, when did he begin
Right.
writing this book?
That's a great way to put
Right,
it. Yeah.
right. So,
Right, so
when
he's-
did he know this stuff?
Yeah.
And not just him. It's not like he was the only guy at NBC. And even if he was,
Yeah.
this needs
That's
to
enough.
be reported.
It needed to be reported.
And
They
so-
lied to the American people. They made fun of Americans who merely stated what was obvious.
Exactly. Merely stating what you could see with your own eyes.
But that's all part of what we were talking about earlier is that the judges know that we know that they're acting,
yes.
at best, unconventionally and assuming the role of president. And they know that we know that they shouldn't be doing that, and they don't care.
And they don't
And
care.
they know that we know how is it that all the cases end up before Democrat activist
right,
judges.
right.
They don't care
They don't.
that we don't know. How come nobody who complains about anything from the liberty side of life versus the fascist Democrat side has standing, but Venezuelan gang members have standing in
Correct.
D.C. where they've never been?
Right.
Okay. So we know what's going on.
And, all those cases, also 2020 election cases, a lot of people love to say, well, it's been heard in several courts. And
62 courts
it hasn't.
rejected it. No, it wasn't
It's
heard
been heard
once.
in 0 courts.
Zero, because we know
For
standing.
lack of standing.
Yes, lack of
so
standing.
stop telling us that it's been heard and rejected by the courts.
It was never heard
hasn't.
because, unlike gang members from Venezuela who are murderers and rapists, we, the American people, do not have standing. According to, particularly the District of Corruption judges. Okay?
District of Corruption.
That's right, D.C. And I'm going to say it every week. Go read Article 3, and it says that a judge stays on the bench as long as he is exhibiting good behavior. Okay? So to me, Congress can kick him out and say it's bad behavior without impeachment. Impeachment is a whole separate thing.
You knew something about the Constitution.
You
I
see
didn't.
that? I actually read it.
Dang, you got me.
And the other thing I've say it every week, I'm going to say it again. Congress could abolish the entire D.C. bench now, right now, okay? So my clock is gone. I don't know how much time I have left.
Yeah, I got a little over a
anyway,
minute.
well, okay. So,
You're good.
So Congress could totally, end it. They could just end those. They don't need to impeach. They don't need anybody's approval.
Yeah, correct. Right.
Just do it. Get rid of it.
They were creation.
Now, and Congress isn't doing anything. And meanwhile, I'm looking at the Wisconsin ridiculous situation because the Republicans did nothing to win. And consequently, we are going to face redistricting. And there's going to be 2 new Democrats because of the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, which I think the Republicans actually sometimes are flat out complicit in, and they want to be the opposition party. They don't want to be in charge because they're doing nothing to lead. Nothing.
Okay.
Where are you, Steve Scalise? Where are you, Mikey Johnson? Folks, call them. I mean, I let Johnson's office have it.
It does look like that. Now, I'm not saying they're
Not
complicit.
saying it is, but
I'm saying if you were complicit, you'd be doing what these guys are
exactly
doing.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
And what has the GOP done? What did they do in Wisconsin to win? The only guy who did anything is Scott Pressler, So it's just ridiculous. Anyway, we're Baldy and the Blonde. We're here every single Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Except when we're not.
Except when we're not.
A couple weeks ago we weren't.
We weren't.
so,
We had a
yeah.
case. We're busy. And you can follow us at Baldy Blonde on X, and we will be right back after the break.
Hey, Baldy and the Blonde are back. This is Tom Coates with Michelle Godin. I'm going to throw it to Michelle because I have no idea what she's going to bring up, so I'll just let her talk.
Tommy, I spent the break looking through your phone because I secretly work for Border Patrol.
Oh, well,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, it's been brought to my attention.
Remind me not to go use the restroom during breaks anymore.
It's been brought to my attention that the lefties are freaking out because suddenly all of their phones are being searched at the border. It's been exponentially increased under Trump.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I'm just telling you, look, border control, just go Google, can border control go through your phone, and you'll find tons of articles saying that there's some increased searching of Americans' phones, and people are being detained, and it's just so terrible. Trump is a fascist. The usual, the usual from the same people that, of course, were fine with Dementia Joe, and were fine with all of the abuses inflicted on Americans over the last 10 years.
Okay,
But anyway,
so there's tons of articles saying since Trump came into office,
yes,
this has increased a
yes,
lot.
and if you really read the articles. I am going to start a segment showing you how to read things. But if you really read them, it'll be like, okay, so-and-so was detained, but actually she had just been to a Hezbollah. They try to tell you she's a Brown professor or something like that. Well, actually, she was coming back. She's not a citizen, coming back from a Hezbollah funeral. So, of course, she's going to be questioned.
Oh, okay. All right.
And she was here on a visa. And you're here as a guest on a visa. And if you act up as a guest in someone's country, you're getting kicked out.
So when she tried to enter the country,
I don't know.
she had to give up her phone?
Yeah, they looked at her phone and found the Hezbollah stuff. And anyway, so, the lefties are all like, oh, my God, anyone who's made fun of Trump is being deported. Of course, it's ridiculous. And I just had to get to the bottom of it. So how did this get started? Well, it turns out there's a little reporter named Kathleen Wong. She's the travel reporter, very well versed in legalities, the travel reporter for USA Today. And this is the basis for the fact that the searches have recently increased. Because she writes this, and this is how it works. She gets this one quote, and then I Googled the quote, and it's in every article and the basis for all of the hysteria. You ready?
Oh, so all those articles you mentioned that I would find online.
Yes. Are all based on this assertion.
Ah, okay, okay.
So here it is, because, you're expecting some pretty rock-solid statistics, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
Let's
so here
hear
it is.
Hit me.
Up until this past January, these phone searches have been, quote, almost negligible, close quote, according to Suzanne Hubel, a lawyer at an immigration law firm. Quote, she says, I travel a lot. I have clients who travel a lot. of all sorts of nationalities and visa statuses, and nobody has ever complained about these searches until now, she said. And based on this immigration lawyer saying, I travel, my clients travel, and nobody's complained to me about their phones being searched, based on that, we can now conclude that they've skyrocketed. And it is in at least 20 articles I found that quote.
That's the basis?
That's the basis. That's the basis.
Oh, that's pathetic.
So I thought, well, let me just see what the real statistics are. And it takes like 2 seconds. You know that right-wing organization, the ACLU? They admit to a giant, I believe they said giant significant increase from like 5,000 in 2016 searches to 43,000 in 2023 during whose presidency? Dementia Joe.
No, he wasn't president.
Right, whoever
we don't
was.
know who was.
And the Border Patrol says there's been a 200% increase during the Biden administration's term.
Well, can we get Kathleen Wong on the phone?
So I'd love to get Kathleen or the lawyer who...
Maybe let's try next week.
Yeah, let's try it. And Miss Wong, by the way, oh my goodness, if you look up her resume, well, let's just say she is a member of all kinds of lefty groups. And I'm going to start a segment where we just go, how did this story get started? Because this shows you just one person has to write something stupid, and then no one feels any need to check it out, just like Joe Biden's really sharp. In fact, not only do you not need to check it out, it is their marching orders. This is not an accident.
No, that's not an accident.
This is to create hysteria when, in fact, the border searches have been going on and escalating exponentially from 2020 to 2024.
Well, but
So
now
it's
now they have an agenda, so they pull out nonsense.
Yes.
They've always pulled out
Yes.
nonsense. Now, I believe we have a caller on hold with a question.
Okay.
All right, so who do we have? Matthew from Homa. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Michelle, I tried to talk to you at Politics with the Punch.
Yes. Hey, Matthew.
I believe you answered the question, and that is that it does not, in fact, need to go through the Senate to remove these judges. Now,
well,
I don't know if this has ever happened before.
no, it's just Michelle Godin. It's just the law by Blondie. Okay, so yeah, I just actually read. Just go read Article 3. It's really short, and it says that the
Well,
judges.
that's in that document that they don't use anymore.
That's exactly right. It's the old Constitution.
Constipation?
Yeah.
That's it. It was nice to meet you, Matthew. You had fun?
Oh, it was a good time had by most everybody.
Yes, I thought so. It was fun. But anyway, yeah, so I think that, you could use is this good behavior or not, because that, to my knowledge, has not been litigated. Most of the time, people try to remove judges through the impeachment process, which maybe you could get a conviction. I mean, maybe you could get an impeachment, but not a conviction in the Senate, because we don't have...
Oh, no. In the Senate, I hate to say it, but the Democrats are united, it seems, in one thing.
Which is?
And that is to stop this dreaded MAGA agenda and see if they can be of any assistance in the GOP in destroying it.
That's it. And, it's unfortunately, fortunately, actually, the Democrats are now at, according to the most recent CNN poll, 21% approval rating in the country.
Yes, which kind of makes what happened in Wisconsin very strange. It's almost as if it's anomalous.
Isn't that strange?
It's, just another case of one of the fairest elections ever.
That's right.
Don't question it.
And okay, we have to say goodbye, Matthew. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Yeah, we got a minute and 40 seconds left.
All right, thanks for the call, Matthew.
Thanks, Matthew. And I mean, you can count on the fact that they are always united.
I'm serious. I save that article, whatever you got there.
Yeah.
I want to try to reach
Kathleen
Wong.
I'd love to.
And the person who she quoted,
Suzanne
that then became the source for apparently several other articles you could find.
And in the immigration lawyer who gave the quote, I'm pretty sure she herself would know as a lawyer that is not evidence of a rise or a fall in border searches, right? Of your phone.
Yeah,
and by the way, as a lawyer, folks, You're not in, under the law, the borders and airports are far less American than the rest of the country. And, it's a long history of law that says, this is an area of enhanced security and your constitutional rights are, I would say, more vulnerable. So you should
No.
definitely be careful.
Now that-
Turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your Bluetooth, don't have your face be your password, for God's sake.
And that doesn't mean we agree that
I
that
don't
should
agree.
be the case, but that is
But
the
it is.
case.
So it's always been like that. And the idea that this is all of a sudden a thing is just more ginned up BS by the left. I don't know. I don't understand it. Don't they have anything to say that isn't a lie about the people who support liberty?
No, they don't.
They literally don't. I guess all they're for is waste, fraud, and abuse, and they love it. Anyway, we are Baldy and the Blonde. Check us out at baldyandtheblonde.com where you can get all of our shows commercial free. Follow us at X at Baldy Blonde.